But being a student at Fresno State, I remember being a freshman, and I was asked to go visit Valley Children's Hospital. And as a freshman, I did what any freshman football player with a day off would do. I said, no, thank you. And then by God's providence, he changed my mind 2 days later, and I decided to go. So I went to Valley Children's Hospital in my Fresno State gear, and I had my red Bulldog pants on and my shirt, and I was a nobody. I was a freshman, and it didn't matter. But the people there were so loving and cared about what I was there for. They introduced me to every family and patient in the hospital as I walked through the different rooms. And every time I went in there, I was greeted by a family that was going through severe hardship, but was being cared for by Todd and his team to a level that I'd never experienced. I had no idea what Valley Children's Hospital was before that day. But I found out that they were, and I found out later also, that they're the finest institution that I've ever been around as far as a children's hospital. I've been all over the country. Todd's heard me say this before, but I've never experienced anything like that. And the last room that I went to, and you'll understand why it was the last room after I tell you the story, I was standing on the edge of the room, and the nurse would go in and she would talk with the family and make sure that it was okay for them to have a visitor. And I remember seeing the mom and dad were very emotional, and they'd been through a lot, clearly. And as I entered the room, I could see why, and their daughter was obviously very sick. And I would find out later that the child would pass away 2 days later. And it was a hard time for me, but the most intense part of that experience was as I walked in with my Fresno State gear on in Valley Children's Hospital, the dad's face went from complete sadness to the biggest, most goofy smile you've ever seen in your life. And it was like, for a freshman football player and student, it was an eye-opening experience for me. And it changed my perspective, because when I would walk down the ramp later at Bulldog Stadium, I didn't just see fans, I saw that family, because we experienced life together. And that's what this union is about. It's about experiencing life together with two institutions that care about people, that care about education, that care about the health. So you go from the ultimate low of your family and your child battling in sickness, and there's a great institution like what Todd has at Valley Children's Hospital. And then you go on Saturday afternoon and you get to experience the joys of a football game. And for a brief moment, you forget about that pain, you forget about that hardship that you're going through. And so for me, as I fast forward my professional career and I have a chance to start, a media production company with my brother Derek, and he wishes he could be here, but he's pretty busy right now. The one thing we wanted to do was push those institutions to the front of the community and shine a light. Now, these institutions don't need a light shine on them. They're already very visible. But that's what we wanted to do. And so we were given the great opportunity to be tasked with finding a partnership for Fresno State, in a possible naming rights situation. Now, I'm going to be blunt, some of the naming rights situations around the country are terrible. So some of the stadiums are named very interesting things, okay? This, for me, I know this would have hurt negotiations, but the union between Fresno State and Valley Children's Hospital was the only option for me. On the whiteboard, there were a lot of names, okay? And I'm sure they were great, but there was no other option. And it had to be Valley Children's. And I'm so thankful to the administration of Fresno State, to Valley Children's Hospital for making this happen, because for me, this is a dream come true. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. I think it's a fantastic union. I can't wait to see where this goes from here, and I'm just very